Hello guys, what's up? Today I'm going to show you Kepler, my new library. Let me talk about this project. Kepler is the new chapter of the Elements series. Elements series is a collection of libraries, very useful when you are composing hybrid stuff, contemporary music, contemporary soundtrack. And the first chapter was Elements Modern Scoring Synth. You know, is a sort of generalistic hybrid synth, very useful because there are a lot of different sound sources, very useful when you are creating contemporary modern scoring. And then there is Elements Cinematic Rhythms, that is my vision, my idea of a contemporary folk percussion library. Inside there are a lot of raw percussion, also a bit of hybrid stuff, and in general is a collection of instruments very useful when you are creating, for example, Viking stuff, contemporary tribal folk music for film, video games, trailer, you know. Now there is Kepler. Let me talk about Kepler and the idea behind this library. To create Kepler, I got inspiration from a lot of things that I love, that I really like. I really love creating library that, first of all, are useful for me, because I am a sound designer, composer, so I really like creating library that I use. And then I hope that this idea, these libraries are useful also for you. And to create Kepler, I got inspiration, for example, of course, from Hans Zimmer, because, you know, I'm a big fan of Hans. That is not a secret, and every time Hans creates, for me is a big inspiration. For example, you know, The Dark Knight, The Gladiator, of course, Inception, Interstellar, and now Dune. Every time I got a lot of inspiration from Hans' works, but I've got inspiration from a lot of things that I love. For example, I really like, and I have always been inspired by Vangelis, for example, the Blade Runner, the original Blade Runner by Vangelis, and of course also the new Blade Runner by Hans Zimmer. And then there are a lot of sounds that I've created, starting from a lot of nice trailer music that I really like. In general, I think that I've created a hybrid tool, very useful when I'm composing hybrid stuff, contemporary music, and in general, I think is an inspiring library. Now, let me say thanks to everyone involved in this project. For example, all the musicians, Gabriele for the violins, Clara for the solo vocals, Davide for the cello, guitar, bass, Angelo for additional cellos, and all the guys of the choirs, and all the guys who helped me to create this library. Okay, so now let's start. I would like to dive into the library. In this video, I would like to show you how I've created the trailer, the music of the trailer, official trailer. I would like to remind you that I created also an official overview video with a great English, not my poor voice and poor English. So in the official overview video there is a great voice by Brian, so thanks Brian for your English. So in general, in that overview you can get a lot of info about, for example, the installation, and it's also a nice preview of the content of the library. And in addition, I've created also 3 playthrough videos with no talk, where I've played around the presets of the library, because there is a lot of content. So I think it's a nice way to get info about the content, okay? In this tutorial, in this first tutorial, I would like to show you the library in action. I will do another tutorial, so take a look at my channel because I will upload new videos in the next days. So let's dive into the library and start with the trailer music. I would like to give you some information about the user interface, some tips and tricks, you know. So let's start. Let's take a look at the trailer and then I will explain you which instruments I'm using in this demo, and we take a look at the library. Let's take a look at the tracks. We can start from the beginning, and we have these tracks, these two tracks. The first one, which is this texture from the texture designer. The preset is sunken rains. And then we have another texture from texture designer called Mirage Pools. So these two textures work together to create this sound. Then we have another track with another texture. This way we have a human hue texture. In particular, this texture, the choir, or also the violin texture that now I'm going to show you, this texture use the legato mode, which means that is a scripted legato where you don't have a retriggering anytime you play a note. This is pretty cool because when I, for example, play this texture, I don't have a retriggering anytime I play the notes. Of course, you have to create a little overlaps, similarly to when you play a true legato. This feature is pretty cool, in particular on the choir, on the violins, because it creates an evolving sound, a more organic sound, because you don't have the retriggering anytime you play the notes. So the sample doesn't start from the beginning anytime you play the notes, okay? Of course, it's important that you create a little bit of overlaps when you play or when you then programming the MIDI part, okay? Let's move on. Now we have a simple boom effect from the core designer. Another texture, this case Stellar Whisper from the texture designer. Inside the texture designer, of course, there are a lot of different categories: hybrid texture, choir texture, solo vocal, choir and solo, strings textures, combinations, simple texture, key texture, texture harp. Of course, these presets are just a starting point. Then with the engine, you can create new presets, combining and layering different source elements. You have 3 layers, so you can create a layering, and my suggestion is start from a preset, try different possibilities. This way you have a good starting point. I remind you, of course, to install the preset. There is the installer, and I created, as I said, the overview video where there is this information. Okay, let's move on. Another track. A string texture, violin texture. So as you can see, there is not the retriggering, because also in this patch there is the scripted legato. For example, in particular, this preset called best at 70 BPM. Of course, as you can see by the name, in this case there is also a sync, and this patch in particular works better around this BPM. So 70, 75, 80, and let me give you an example so in real time. So very easy. It's very inspiring, play this patch. And let's move on. We have this track, which is another texture called Eclipse Shadow. So this is a pretty complex patch. Really, it's really organic. There is a choir, there is hybrid stuff, and I really like this patch. I use it this patch also to create the demo, the Dune demo. I will show you this that session in the next tutorial. And okay, let's move on. Then we have this track. I don't remember. Oh yes, it's a classic wash, because there is a specific instrument inside the Kepler with the swoosh sound. Let me give you an overview about the content. You can see here we have chord designer, texture designer, trailer hit, hybrid low perc, high perc, folk perc, hybrid high and hybrid folk, bass instrument, really cool. Now I will show you stomps, boom, metal hit, whoosh, whoosh and hit, processed short, Kepleria voice through legato, really cool. Kepler voice through legato, now I will show you. Breath sequence, choir, breath man and human, Kepleria voice scream. A lot of specific instruments. Of course, the chord designer and the texture designer are, I can say, the main instruments. Let me show you another track here. It's another texture from texture designer called Imperial Age. And of course, this Imperial Age works together the Eclipse shadow. Then another track. Let me take a look. Okay, this is a Man Siren Texture. I really like this preset. Okay, the original preset is Man Siren Texture, but in this case I added also the woman on the layer 2, because the original preset is only man. But anyway, if you go through the drop down menu here, there are all the presets. For example, there is the man and the woman, the combination between woman and the man, etc., etc. And this is a pretty cool patch where the choir sings with this modulation on the pitch. I think always useful when you create trailer scoring to have this texture with the choir, with this modulation. Really cool. Another one. Okay, this is a texture called I called this texture Sick Violin, because it's a pretty cool texture with this sick violin. Very, very interesting. I love this organic texture in general. I really like when the texture is so organic, so with a lot of, I can say, a lot of life into the sound. It's not static, it's not the same, but there is this modulation. Another track. Okay, this is a preset from the chord designer. It's an hybrid percussion. Okay, then we have another track here. Let me open this track. Okay, this is a riser. 4 bars. A classic trailer riser. And here we have yeah, this is the texture violin, I think. Yes. Then we have this track. I don't remember what is that. Okay, this is a guitar processed. From the chord designer. And then another track. Let me open this track, which is another chord designer. It's a preset from the hybrid percussion called A Little Bit Tribal. It's a little bit of tribal percussion with a lot of processing, and okay, and all together sounds this way. Now in this specific part I used this vocal signature, this sound from the texture designer, from the solo vocal preset. This is a pretty cool texture created with Clara, with the vocals. And I usually love to use this kind of solo vocals, solo texture. It was created with multi-layering, so try different MIDI velocities, because, for example, in this preset in particular, we have 2 layers. Let me show you. Now I play with a MIDI velocity soft. Okay, for example, on this note, I have this sound. If I play hard, I have another sample, and also with another notes, for example, on the, I don't know, here. Now I play with soft MIDI velocity. I have a different sample. This is pretty cool because when you play you can create interesting evolving vocal texture. Let's move on with the trailer so I can show you another instrument. Okay, this part introduces the vocal drone called Kepler or voice through legato. This is a pretty cool sound, of course inspired by Dune, and I've created this sound with Davide, which is the singer of of Prometheus, one of the singer, the main singer from Prometheus. But in this case, we have created these particular syllables that are a little bit processed to have this really deep vocal sound. The engine behind this instrument is similar, is the same of the true legato of Atlantis of the Theragold series. So remember, there is a little bit of latency. You have to compensate this latency with the track delay of your DAW. The latency is this one. It's really easy to understand how to play this instrument because you have all the syllables. And when you play, you have the connection between the syllables. In this case, we are not talking of a classic true legato like a Theragold. So the patch, it was sampled with a specific tune, which is the F, which is this one. So when you need a different key, a different tune, a different pitch, like in this case, because my song, my demo is in D, you have to use the key switch here. Okay, so remember to check this setting on contact to have a correct view of the keyboard. So if you want to see the key switch, you have to set to 0. But I would like to remind you that if you set this setting to 0 to see the key switch, then you don't see all the samples mapped on the keyboard with the chord designer, texture designer, low perc, etc. But remember that in this case, for example, when you want to see the key switch to change the key, you can use these icons here. Okay. So this is the true legato, Kepler or voice true legato. There is also the female version, created by Clara. Of course, it's a different voice. It's not the usual Clara voice that we know in Atlantis, for example. So it's a drone, and the latency, it's the same. Now, in this part, we have 2 tracks here. Let me show you. Okay, these are choir whispers, choir. Now I explain how works this instrument. It's really easy. There is an arpeggiator. If you want to use the arpeggiator to trigger the notes, but you can also play the syllables without the arpeggiator. When you are using the arpeggiator, and this is the same for any Kepler instrument, when you are using the arpeggiator, there are 20 milliseconds of latency. So you have to compensate this latency with the track delay to have a perfect timing. In this particular case of this instrument, so the quiet breath woman and man, when you're sampling an instrument, there is the transient, which is really important. So to have a nice and credible sound, there is also a latency on the sample, on the original sound that must be included into the samples. So for this reason, this particular instrument has 120 millisecond with the arpeggiator on and 100 millisecond without the arpeggiator. So let's move on. We have another track. Okay, this is a percussion. With the hybrid folk perc, and then maybe here there is another percussion. Yes, there are the hybrid high percussion. The hybrid high percussion are using the arpeggiator. So I've created this sequence with the arpeggiator. Then there is another track. Which is this hybrid sound. I've created this sound with acoustic guitar with the contact mic, so there is a lot of processing to have this sound, but it's pretty cool. There is this category metals and objects where there are a lot of interesting organic sounds like this one, mallet, particular acoustic sounds processed to have a particular sound. So this is this part here. So we have the choir, we have the vocal drone. Let me show you this trumpet sound that is not a trumpet. I called this preset trumpet, and is this sound. It's an hybrid sound created with a duduk that I processed. My duduk, I'm not a good player, but I used to play the duduk to create particular texture, you know. And okay, then we have the another part on the trailer. Let me go and play. So in this part I'm using this instrument here, which is the vocal texture that I used before. Yeah. Then we have another track with the violins. Then we have another track with another violins. With this tremolo. Then we have another track with the choir. And we have also the man. Then we have a percussion, maybe. No, this is another texture. No, this is a sequence. with the chord designer, and then maybe these are the percussion, yeah, but on this track, in this track, I'm using the arpeggiator. Yeah, and of course it works with the choir. And we have maybe a wash. No, a trailer hit. The trailer hit instrument is a classic trailer hit instrument where you have a lot of typical hit, trailer hit, you know. Also, this instrument has the arpeggiator, so you can choose if you want to play your part, playing the notes, or if you want the sequencer, the internal sequencer, to play the notes. So a lot of different hit. All these percussion instruments have the round robin and up to 5 dynamic levels. Okay, well, then we have another percussion, the hybrid folk percussion. Ta-ta-tan. So as you can see, I really like the layering. This is a library where the layering is really important to achieve a big, rich sound. So try different combination. Don't stop at the first track, but try to add layers. Another texture again. Tempest, number 4, and probably this is from the category textures. Yes, there is the texture designer, which is the specific instrument to create texture, to have the texture inside Kepler. But also the chord designer has a category with some textures. So then we have the Kepler Bass. This is a pretty cool bass instrument. Let me show you. This is a pretty nice bass instrument, really aggressive, and has the round robin, has the dynamic level, and when you play, of course, like for the percussion, you can use with the arpeggiator, or you can play manually your notes. But remember that there are up to 5 dynamic levels, and the last dynamic is this slide effect. So it's pretty nice when you use also the sequencer. So you can create this sliding effect with the step up to the max value on the table. I've created also some presets just to have an idea of the different possibilities. The sound of this bass is clean. So we have created this instrument sampling the bass from an ampli, but without distortion, without without additional sound, so to have a clean sound. But of course then you can use the rack FX, the FX rack, to add maybe a distortion. I've created just some preset to have an idea. Okay, or I don't know. So it's really cool. Okay, let's go to the final part of the trailer to complete this overview on this track. And there is a piano and texture from the texture designer. So this is a pretty cool patch because it has 3 layers, and I've created this preset with a key texture. And we have a choir human who, a key texture on the layer 2, and a Kepler hybrid. So the first layer is this one. Then we have layer 2 with this felt piano. And on layer 3 we have the who choir. Remember that on modulation wheel, in some patch you have a control on the dynamic, and also with control change 11, MIDI control change 11. Okay guys, that's it for this tutorial. See you in the next video. Ciao!